AWS Community Day Vancouver presents the GenAI Q&A Vibe Lounge, hosted by Krug.
Hey, what's up, Internet? Kris Krug. I'm here at AWS Community Days. We've been having an awesome time interviewing all the speakers and stuff that come around. I've also been looking for a couple nooks and crannies, gaps to bring in people from the local community who I'm interested in talking to, and that brings us to Amin Sharifi. Say hello and introduce yourself to the Internet there.
Yeah, my name is Amin Sharifi. As Kris mentioned, I'm the founding director of this nonprofit called Enya Learning. We are using machine learning and AI to make the educational journeys of immigrant students more personalized. So the same way you get a personalized feed on TikTok or Instagram for entertainment, we give these students a personalized feed around education.
It's incredible, man. So Amin and I have been getting to know each other. We've been getting to know each other over at these AI meetups that I host in my studio. And you've come out and you've started participating with some of the other members of your team. And we've been getting to know each other a little bit. It's been really great. And so then you invited me to speak at one of your events recently called the Enya Liftoff. And just tell me what you were trying to do with the Enya Liftoff and why you did it at all. And kind of like, tell me a little bit about that community.
That was our launch event, actually. And I'm so glad you were the keynote speaker. You gave an amazing speech. Everyone was so touched by it, and you touched on so many important things. I feel like the main purpose of the event was to show people and change the framing around AI. I mean, maybe the audience we're talking to right now, they're okay with AI, but on the grander scheme of things, there's so many negative connotations when people hear the word AI, and that's been one of the challenges we're facing at Enya as well. The school boards, when they hear AI, they immediately equate it with being dangerous for kids. So we want to change the framing on that. That's one of the reasons I invited you to be the keynote speaker, because you touched on so many important things that generative models are doing to make the world better, whether it's in healthcare, education, or anything else. So for that event, we wanted to show that AI is capable of so much good, especially in the context of education. We also invited artists. Creativity is so important for children and for Enya as well. Through our testing, we found that when we allow kids a creative space to express themselves, it also affects how they're doing in English and in their other courses at their schools. So when they get a chance to express themselves, whether it's through illustration, dance, or any other art form, they also get the confidence to speak English better or express their ideas better.
It definitely jumped out at me in general how you're approaching this not just through a purely educational lens, but through a multifaceted lens that incorporates art, spirituality, movement. You had a 8-year-old breakdancing champion there and stuff. And I mean, I really appreciate your kind of holistic, human-centric approach to building your business and building your community and stuff. And just maybe talk to me a little bit more about why that's important to you.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like sometimes the modern scientific lens isn't enough. So of course it has its own place, but throughout my own educational journey and even my journey of coming to Canada as an immigrant, I faced a lot of barriers that I wouldn't have been able to fix throughout the modern system, maybe looking at it through the scientific lens. So I use a lot of tools, whether it's through the framework of alchemy, I've done like a little alchemy presentation in front of you, or any other framework. And through all of this, I found that art is such an innately human thing. So all of us engage with art. It's kind of like a universal language. Any person in the whole world is constantly creating art, even if they don't call themselves an artist. You do this as well at Future Proof Creatives. You're gathering a community of artists. Sometimes they might not view themselves as artists, but whether they're coders, developers, or founders, they're creating art because they're using creativity. Anything we do around generative AI models, I view it as art. Just because it's so new, there's so much creativity going on with it, and there's so much potential to unpack here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll bite. You know, when I first met you and started getting to know you, we were talking about alchemy a little bit, and I was like, oh, guy's got some esoteric interest. That's fascinating. You know, he's into turning lead into gold. Yeah. I'm like, I don't really see how that, but then I realized that's not what we're talking about here. When you say alchemy, now that I've heard your talk, I feel more like you're talking about hacking reality or changing your perspective to get a more true sense of the world as it really is, or something like this. And so I don't mean to put words in your own mouth, but for those of us who are envisioning you with a wizard's hat on, trying to create gold, tell me what you mean by alchemy.
Yeah, honestly, it could mean different things to different people. At the very fundamental level, it is turning lead into gold, but that can be also applied in the spiritual context. Now, you don't have to be a spiritual to engage with it in this way, but you can turn your own personal lead or your personal challenges into triumphs or into wins, basically. So what that could mean for me is turning trauma into a source of power, or turning past negative experiences again into a source of power, into a source of wisdom and knowledge. Once you go through an experience like that, you're immediately blessed with the power to relate to other people who've gone through similar experiences as well. And you mentioned a piece about hacking reality. It's honestly really cool to think about it through this lens. I read it a lot from Jung, the Swiss psychologist. Some people pronounce his name as Jung as well. And he believes that he's a nominal guy instead of a realist. So in nominalism, we say that nothing in reality exists outside of our perceptions. So how you view reality, basically how you describe yourself to others, what a story you tell about yourself, what a story you tell about others, basically creates your reality. So if I were to come here to AWS today and be like, oh, AWS sucks, probably what I would have taken out of all the events and cool talks would have been the negative aspects of things. But I came with an open mind and I was so impressed by all the talks. One thing that particularly stood out to me was Mark Gamble's talk.
Yeah.
That made me really view Enya in a new light as well. There's so many creative things happening with these new models, like the edge technology he was presenting, where you don't even need internet anymore to engage with these models. That's super cool to me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. You know, what resonates with me when you're talking about alchemy and changing kind of the stuff around changing perspective or whatever is, you know, putting myself in this position where I like host a show or hold a mic, even though, you know, I do it and it's a part of what I feel like I want to put into the world, it's not my natural instinct and I don't love it.
Right.
And up until like my 30s, you know, I actually found it debilitating. I couldn't do it. And I realized at some point that it was like one of the skills that was keeping me from becoming the leader that I actually wanted to be or that I saw myself as. And so I thrust myself into the public speaking sphere or whatever, right? And in doing so, I had to figure out how to deal with my anxiety and imposter syndrome and fear and stuff, you know? Somebody told me, they're like, okay, Kris, close your eyes. Feel that feeling in your body of being anxious like you are right now, right? Okay, now can you also feel like what it feels like to be excited? You know, when you're excited to do something. And they're like, can you feel the similarities between how it feels in your body to being anxious for something or how it feels to be excited? Because they're actually kind of the same feeling in your body. It's just how your brain signals interpret, you know, what your body's saying. And that's begun a transformation for me where I literally think about transmuting, to borrow a word from alchemy, these feelings of anxiety, which are negative and keep me from self-actualizing. Instead, I can literally turn some percentage of them now into a realization that I'm excitement. There's something inside me that I want to share with the world, and I'm lucky to be in this position to get to do so. And it's transformed my career. Yeah.
Oh, you're definitely a seasoned alchemist because I've seen you give so many public talks and I would have never thought it's something that you've struggled with in the past.
Yeah.
But I like viewing it from that perspective. It's so eye-opening because a lot of these emotions are so close to each other. Hate and love, anxiety and excitement. It's just what color you put on them. If you're viewing the world through rose-colored glasses, everything's gonna look pink and pretty. But if you're looking at things through a brown lens, everything might look like crap. Who knows?
There's another thing I wanted to mention. I consider myself an Indigenous ally, and I'm committed to reconciliation, and I look for opportunities to contribute in those ways. And so it really struck me, the land acknowledgement that you gave the night of the Enya liftoff. It struck me in a variety of ways, like most people, if they remember to do so, do it to check a box. And, you know, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but not in the way that yours was uncomfortable. That's just uncomfortable in the way that they don't know how to actually say Tsleil-Waututh or something like this, you know. But you actually had us close our eyes, had us think deeply, and you shared what I considered a bit of a radical perspective. And so that was a business event. You called out the host SFU. What were you doing? Why is that important? And why did that have to happen on that big night for you?
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, but if I were to sum it up, I feel like a lot of the global systems that are keeping all of us down are interconnected. The colonial systems that have brutalized Indigenous people in Canada and to this day oppress them are also oppressing other people all across the world. These imperial systems, these colonial systems are connected. And what I wanted the attendees to get out of it that night is that the enemy is the same. So if the people unite, they can stand up against it. We each play a part in the collective's resistance against these colonial systems. And especially in the context of Canada, the stewards that can lead us to a brighter future are Indigenous people. this is their land after all. And we have to follow their advice, the way that they want this land to be treated, to go forward, to realize a better and brighter future. I guess that was the purpose that I brought that up.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't say it lightly. It was very powerful and profound, and I've taken a lot from it. So I know you're doing some hiring at Enya. You're growing. You're looking for different people. You're looking for some supporters as well. How can people learn about Enya?
Yeah.
And how would you like people to support you?
Absolutely. So go to our website. It's called www.enyalearning.ca. Enya as in ENYA learning.ca. And our Instagram is just Enya Learning. So as to what we are hiring, there's a ton of different positions that we are hiring for right now. At the leadership level, there is board members that we are looking for. We are trying to look for a new director of tech and innovation. We are looking for a director of indigenous stewardship and a director of legal and compliance. We are also hiring tutors. For those positions, we usually look for lived immigrant experience, somebody who's passionate about working with kids, and somebody who wants to be a role model. Each and every one of the people at Enya is trained to look at themselves as a role model, because these children with their impressionable minds look at us and see that, oh, if that person was able to go through this very hard immigrant journey and get somewhere like this, maybe I can do it too, right? So each and every one of us are role models. I look up to you as a role model of mine as well. So yeah, please go to our website and Instagram, look at these jobs, and you can always send me a DM as well on Instagram. My Instagram's Amin's on Insta, so AMINS on Insta. And we can chat more about how you can support Enya. We are always looking for passionate people, radical people who want to really ignite systematic change within education. Our education system is so old and outdated, it's really overdue for some change.
That's cool, man. You're very articulate. I think you're very on point, and you inspire me, and you've given me a lot to think about. I appreciate our friendship and our connection and all that, man. And to many awesome things that we can do together, dude.
Absolutely, can't wait. Thanks.
Anything else you want to share with the world before we go?
Yeah, I actually want to invite everyone to come to Kris's AI community meetups. The next one is on Thursday. I'm actually giving like a small little talk there as well. But Kris has been really, honestly, inspirational for me. Once you're in a room with so many radical people that care about our future and want to turn it into a positive thing, you can't help but to be inspired, right? There's sushi and drinks as well. I'm sure that helps people get inspired. But yeah, hope to see some of you there too.
I'll take it, man, but I won't take it without adding an asterisk to it, which is I met someone at your event who I've been in touch with, who lives in Montreal, who I got some stuff up my sleeve with around the Vancouver AI community meetups. Would you tell the world a little bit about Vought 44.4?
Yeah, Vought is a really inspiring artist. I've used the word inspiring, but I don't use it lightly. I've repeated it because the people who are here, who were at the Enya Learning event at the AI community meetups, are really inspiring. So Vought is imagining the year 4044. How could it look like if AI goes South Bay, or if we actually use AI for doing good things, for doing positive things in the world? She's trying to create a world where racialized and indigenous women, women of color, black women, actually right control, have power. These voices that have been suppressed for too long in Vought's imagined future have power, as they should. And Vought is also extremely anti-policing, which I agree with as well. But one thing that really inspires me about Vought is that when everyone hears about AI, they always think about the negatives. And while it's important to think about the ethical considerations, how does that thinking help us? How can we think of solutions when we are always thinking about the negatives of AI? But Vought is all about creating a world where we actually extract as much power as we can from AI to change the world for the better.
I found their performance completely transformative. The way they both embody, personify, and then represent the perspective of an AI is next level, and I can't wait to see what we get cooking up.
Yeah. Follow Vought on Instagram. It's VOT4044, so 4044, and come to the AI community meetups to see Vought perform.
All right. Thank you very much, Internet, for following along. I hope you've been enjoying today. Check Amin out online. Check Enya Learning out online. I'm Kris Krug, Future Proof Creative, signing off for now from AWS Community Days at the Vancouver Play Hall.